Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So I finally made a guide for the new trial, Gzemnid's Reliquary. Now this will be both for the normal version and the master version, which will be available with module 25 launching on Tuesday. You will have to get to 200 progress points on the Men's Brands campaign to unlock the trial, to be able to start buying keys and be able to run the master trial. The standard version should be thrown in your random trial queue. So many hours, 22 pages, and over 5,000 words later, we have our guide. Now this is going to be my written up guide. I will most likely make a video guide a bit later, but this was a lot of work and many of you will appreciate just a written guide for now at least. Video guide can help you a little bit more with regards to visualizing the mechanics and so on, but just starting out, this should help specifically with like rotations of powers, knowing when what's going to happen. Now right here I do have a table of contents. You can skip to any of like the phases or any of the particular mechanics. However, if you view it just through the link in the video description below, you'll be viewing it like this, I believe, and then the contents won't work. You might have to actually download it and then open it again on like Google Chrome, and you'll get what I have here where you can skip to any of the mechanics. We start out with phase 1 when you're going against the Minotaur. Now the Minotaur does have a bunch of attacks like his at-wills, his cone attack, and his axe throw. I haven't thrown those mechanics into this document as I feel they'll just add extra clutter that isn't such a big deal. Yes, maybe I should have added the axe throw where he'll throw his axe at you and push you back. That is avoidable if you know it's going to be directed at you. You can dodge and avoid the axe throw and not get pushed, not get knocked to the ground. But it's not such a big deal as they have gone and made it so that the axe can't throw you into these energy beams. As of new mechanics in this trial that are important to learn, we have these energy beams, which are those mirror artifacts. They will spawn on the wall after a call out from the boss, and then you just position yourself so you're in the safe spots. And then you get this withering ray. You'll get this purple debuff on you. It'll deal damage over time, and if it gets cleansed or the 20 seconds expires, it'll deal a burst of area damage to you and everybody around you. So you can either play it where you move apart and then cleanse, or wait for the duration to expire. Or you just check the timer that's left on your Withering Ray. When it gets like 5 seconds or so, you move away from people so you aren't unnecessarily damaging them. If you have a good heals and such, usually you can out heal that and out survive it and not die. But if you get it combined with some nasty mechanics like Disintegration Ray, where it just deals a ton of damage over time to you and you need to out heal it, then if you combine this with that and so on, you can end up with some easily just dying due to it, combining multiple different mechanics together. You get Chains of Undeath as well. You would have seen that in Castle Never. You basically get chained together and basically you need to move apart, stay apart. If you come together and connect, you basically cause area damage to yourselves and everybody around you, and you'll die. Most likely if you're not a tank, and so just stay apart. You can break it by moving a certain space apart. I believe the chains last about 10 seconds. You have telekinesis, which is you get this blue swirl around you, and basically anybody near you, when the blue swirl disappears, gets launched really high up in the air and takes falling damage when they land back down. Combine it with some other nasty mechanics and you might very well die to that. So if you get the blue swirl, move away from people or don't run into somebody who has the blue swirl. You do a petrifying ray, which will occasionally put just this simple red circle on the ground. If you stand in it, you'll get petrified and turned to stone basically. You're completely disabled and lasts about 10 seconds. Then you have your add waves. So at 75%, 50%, and 25% of the Mr. Minotaur's HP. He did get his name changed, but the Minotaur's boss's hit points thresholds determines when the next wave of ads spawn. It's random between which wave of ads, but one of the waves has the Umber Hulk, the other has the Spacer Beast, and the other has the Ettercap. And those waves will spawn, and you get the mini-boss, and the tank needs to make sure they take the mini-boss. And basically, I move in between when I tank the Ettercap and the Displacer Beast, so that when either one of those appear, I can grab their attention as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the Umber Hulk, not such a big deal to get, but you can run over there and get him. He will burrow somewhere and teleport up. Otherwise, just kill all the ads and then go back to the boss. And you can see our current strategy here. This is how I was playing, and we were getting to the last phase of the trial, so I don't think we were doing anything too badly. But current strategy, I have this for all of the phases, and you can see what we were doing just there. You can read it yourself. Basically just one tank's on the Minotaur, one's on the ads, and then just artifact calling like at the beginning, right from the start. And once all the ads appear, then you go fully focus on killing the ads, then back to the Minotaur, get him to 50%, then kill all the ads, and then you can go artifacts again on the Minotaur, and then you should get the Minotaur to about 10% of his hit points, and then go and kill the ads. Phase transition, basically Gzemnid will appear in the middle. Try not to stand right in the middle at that time because he might land on you and deal some damage, but otherwise you need to have a tank on the ball to immediately grab Gzemnid's threat so that he isn't going to go and laser a healer. So then phase 2, you are fighting Gzemnid. He has a bunch of mechanics. We'll go through the new ones here. You have gaseous expulsion. Basically, it's this star hit here, and just big damage. You get hit by that. Just avoid it. You have your Withering Ray, same as before in phase 1. Just watch out for the last end effect of that, which is called Necrotic Blast. And then you have still the Chains of Undeath are here as well. Then you have Disintegrated Armor, which is his attack here from his eyes. And basically he'll attack the person with the most threat. So ideally a tank. Breaks that armor, that's a debuff, so they take increased damage and take also damage over time. And basically when you get 2 of these stacks, you want to make sure the other tank takes the threat, and when your stacks expire, then you can take the threat back and relieve the other tank. So you're just switching like that. And the person who has the threat will get bitten as well and like thrown back every now and again as well. You still have the Petrifying Ray as well, but this time it seems to always just target the tanks. Pretty annoying. Try and block it so you get the immune and don't get paralyzed. You do have the mirror artifacts, but this time you can get them activating on 2 walls. So you'll end up with patterns like this, where you have like 3/4 of the arena covered, and so you only have this safe zone here. You'll see the mirrors first appear like this, then you need to move, and then they'll blast like so. You're not able to stand like in between them here. That's like just deceiving there. But then you can also get a grid pattern like this, where you'll have safe zones in between. Don't think that this is always going to be the safe spots, because the grid can appear differently. Like the mirrors will appear on this side instead of like this side, and then it will be shifted so that basically all these safe spots that were for this one on this grid are no longer safe spots. So you can never guaranteed have safe spots like we could, let's say, in Zariel. Then we have the Immolation Blast. Basically he'll charge up like this, and then after about 10 seconds do a big blast of damage to everybody. Basically you need to make sure you get some mitigation powers activated, like mounts or artifacts and so on. Just be aware of like the Withering Ray and the Necrotic Blast that comes from that. You don't want to have like them combined together. So maybe you want to cast a cleanse on everybody before the Immolation Blast, so that you aren't getting them stacked on top of each other. It can easily happen. And then as soon as you do get hit by the Immolation Blast, you get a burn effect on you. So you'll take heavy damage over time, and that should be cleansed ASAP as well. Basically any debuff with like this little red dot, it's going to be a new effect with module 25, can be cleansed. So it's nice to see that there. Then there's Arcane Calamity, which is your like hypothermia. Basically, it's your group damage check. You need to group up, share the damage together, and you're all good. Again, try not to stack it with the Withering Ray, with the Necrotic Blast effect, because that could kill you. If you do get Chains of Undeath, make sure you're not joining the group and killing. Like only one person would join the group, the other ones stay apart with the chains. And then we go and we have Obliterate. Basically a tank. It should always be a tank who gets this. We get this red area. It will follow them around. Kind of also has a green glowing effect. And you basically just take the hit as a tank for now. There's a certain mechanic you need to do with it, but we'll discuss that a little bit later. It's a big damage hit, can kill you if you don't block it, but there's something off with blocking it that you need to have your shield up and be either standing still or moving backwards. If you're moving forwards and holding your shield up, you can just get hit as it kind of hits behind you and then not on your shield. Can be a bit weird like that. Just be aware. And then there's the Obliteration Wave, which is the after effect of that Obliterate. So as soon as it hits the tanks, it creates a wave outwards and hits everybody else. I don't think it deals less damage the further you are away. It just deals damage to you regardless where you are in the arena in that wave. You can immunity frame it, but it's kind of hard to do so. So just tank the hit and you'll be okay. Just again, try not combine it with other nasty effects like Withering Ray, Chains, etc. Now, you have these artifacts which will appear. They're like these, I called them crystals in the past, but they're artifacts and they will put a debuff on the players or a buff on the boss. And what you need to do is destroy the artifact with the Obliterate. So the tank needs to move the red area over the artifact and then Obliterate will trigger and destroy the artifact. The artifacts have certain debuffs. So the purple one prevents resurrection. The blue one drains your stamina and healer resources. The orange one reduces everybody's outgoing damage. The green one reduces everybody's movement speed. Then you have buffs for the boss, increasing the outgoing damage and decreasing the cooldown on the boss's power. So you'll have a more rapid succession of the rotation of the boss. Now, these ones that say 10% here did actually get increased to 15% with the recent change. Haven't run the trial with it on 15%, but it makes them a little bit more threatening. Now, how this works is that, again, with the Obliterate, you have to destroy one of the artifacts, but you're getting 2 artifacts appearing. So you have to choose between either or. Which one am I going to keep? Which one are we going to have to play the rest of the trial with? And make that good decision and destroy one of them. So if you had like purple and blue, you would definitely choose purple, because if somebody dies, they're permanently dead and they can't scroll. Unless you're going for some deathless and people are really good, then you might be able to get away with it. But yeah, somebody dies, they're out, so get rid of that one. It's like #1 priority. You can see what I suggest here, like purple, and then prioritize mainly the damaging effect ones. So like orange and red, get rid of those. And then you can probably go and get rid of blue, with then like green and yellow as not such a big deal. Now the rotation for the mechanics of the boss, which is pretty important, is you get that Obliterate at the beginning. Then after that, you'll get mirrors. After that, you'll get the Immolation Blast. After that, you get your artifacts. After the artifacts appear, you get the hypo. And that hypo, you know, since those artifacts have just appeared, is going to happen. So you can group up for it and then like have the cleanse and then tank the hypo together. Now after the hypo, you get the Obliterate, and it's during this second Obliterate during the phase that you will remove one of the artifacts. And then you have the mirrors again, and then you have another hypo, and then you go back and you repeat in step 1. And you ideally want to get the boss, phase the boss before you get the second artifacts again. Otherwise you're ending up with like 2 debuffs right from phase 2, which is not good at all. But this is our current strategy again, as I've explained pretty much going throughout. You just, after the first mirrors, make sure you're having mitigation up for the Immolation Blast. And then when you see the artifacts come up, you need to make sure you're grouping up for the hypo. And then the Obliterate, you need to go and make sure you position yourself so you destroy the desired artifact. They'll spawn like randomly around the arena, so just make sure you find it and look for it. You can find it and look for it as soon as they appear, figure out which one you want to get rid of, and then move both tanks to it, stand over its position, and go and then destroy it when you get the Obliterate. And that's about it. You will phase when you get Gzemnid to 6% of his hit points, and you're on to phase 3. You don't have to do anything here. There should be a bunch of bugs that got rid of that could kill everybody, and you're on to phase 3, which gets pretty complicated. So yeah, here you have a random boss combination. You can get either Halaster, Palavorthine, you can get Stormvald and Valindra, you can get Zariel and Atropal, and lastly, you can get Demogorgon and Tiamat. Now, in the document, I have gone over each of the mechanics that you get with those set of bosses. Halaster and Palavorthine probably being the most complex, because Halaster has like his elemental powers. So he has his lightning ones, fire and ice, which are all specific to which element then you get. You will see it like with the orbs bordering the platform. They'll like be a certain element, so they'll either be lightning, fire, or ice, and then you'll know which combination of which mechanics you're getting. You see all those mechanics in Tower of the Mad Mage, so if you haven't run that trial, I suggest making sure you have a look, read through guides and so on, and make sure you're familiar with them. But you have a bunch of mechanics that Halaster has by default, which is like his Arcane Blast, that's his at-will attack, Foul Play, and occasionally turning somebody into a chicken, occasionally shrinking them, and then you get like a double disintegration when you phase, and then you get Death from Above, and so on. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go and explain all this right now because it's just going to make this video so long. But you get Palavorthine with a bunch of his mechanics from that trial as well, from Crown of Caldegon, and then you can see the current strategy here. Basically, one tank goes to Halaster, one goes to Palavorthine, and you split into two groups, and you need to kill them together. Because what's specific to this third phase is you have two bosses, and basically you split into two parties. Either ideally have one tank and one healer and 3 DPS in the party, and you need to make sure you're killing them together because you need to keep their HP within 20% of each other. Otherwise, the one with the lower HP gets shielded until both bosses are within 20% HP of each other again. You only have 4 minutes to kill both bosses before you all die. So the main problem with Halaster and Palavorthine probably is when they leave the platform and you get the double disintegration with the landing impact from Palavorthine when he comes back to the platform and he goes and pushes you all. So you need to like all get pushed into the safe spot, and he does that every 45 seconds. So the faster you are to kill him, the less he'll do those mechanics. And yeah, otherwise can be a bit challenging. You go on to Stormvault and Valindra, and I would say this is about the easiest. Like, you can solo tank Stormvault. I mean, it's not you're not really intended to solo tank Stormvault, but you can if you have like a paladin healer who can like either share Doomverate or go ahead and just give that tank a ton of shield to be able to mitigate it. And yeah, Valindra has a bunch of powers there as well. Most important one is you have Winter's Fury, where you get these 4 runes on the edges of the platform. You will be able to see those 4 runes as soon as you enter the phase. And basically like one tank, you can see as per my strategy here, like one tank goes on one rune, one tank goes on the other, and then you have one tank on Valindra and the other one on Stormvault. And then for like the Winter's Fury, make sure nobody's putting the miasma areas on the runes, and make sure you have mitigation up for Winter's Fury, and then also the Defiling Beam, which is the hypo from Valindra. You have Zariel and Atropos. The most difficult one here is definitely going to be the pull and push from the baby. On top of that, you're going to get runes from Zariel, and yeah, if you haven't practiced that pull push, make sure go and do some Cradle of the Death God, practice that, and make sure you're not falling off, because if you fall off here, you're gone. In every combination, if you fall off the arena, you're gone, you're out of the fight. You can see again our current strategy here, like one tank takes Zariel, the other one Atropos. You need to switch when you get the like Judgment or the Tank Buster from Zariel, and then make sure you have some mitigation up for the Weight of Virtue, the White Noise, and make sure you're grouping up for the Uncontrollable Turmoil, which is like the hypo. Make sure you move those sword clusters and watch out for the push and pull combined with the runes. And of course, just move out of the red areas and don't put the Lingering Turmoil, which is like this red area with double arrows. Make sure to place it at like the edge so that there's enough room to move past it. Then you get like Demogorgon and Tiamat. This is also probably pretty easy. The main focus here is the mechanics that Demogorgon does with his madness, and then also his paranoid delusions and needing to use those sanity wells to cleanse the madness. Both tanks can go to Demogorgon, and they'll have to tank switch with regards to the imposing gaze stacks and taking increased damage. Tiamat, all she will do is put your different gem effects on you. So black from the Vile Swarm, blue, Living Conduit, green, your Suffocating Gas, red, your Eruption, and white, your Ice. And yeah, current strategy here again, just put 2 tanks on Demogorgon, tank them, and basically kill your paranoid delusions ASAP, and you should be fine. Then you're on to phase 4, and this is where you have to fight Gzemnid's clones. At this point, the trial is getting a bit easier. You've passed most of the difficult parts with regards to the mechanics complexity. You should know all the different mechanics that are going to come up. There's a few new ones in phase 5, but we'll talk about it in just a sec. But in phase 4, you're put onto the arena. You have 4 Gzemnids, 4 beholders, and basically you're getting split up into 2 groups. One group will be down here, the other group will be up here with a divider in between, which is this massive flamethrower, and it will rotate around clockwise. So you need to make sure you're moving and killing these beholders. Not favorable at all to melee DPS, but it is what it is. You can see the mechanics you get from these beholders. They will regularly do Immolation Blast, which is the same as in phase 2. Eyes of the beholders, just their at-will attack, attacking the person who has the most threat. Tanks should be taking those hits, otherwise people will just be getting one shot by them. And then you have your gaseous expulsion, same as before, and then a bunch of these all same as before, and then the scorching artifact, which is that big flamethrower. And you can read our current strategy here. Basically stick with your party, and then you need to have the tanks taking the threat of 2 beholders each. Don't go getting greedy and taking the threat of 3 or 4 beholders, but it can be worth it if the other tank, let's say, died and lost aggro on them, because those beholders will just kill everybody if the tank's not taking the hits. Same with the healers. They need to be on the ball healing their tank. If their tank dies due to lack of heals, well, again, the beholder's going to kill everybody. Now, once you do kill a beholder, they don't disappear. They turn into a ghost, and they wait, and they keep doing more damaging attacks until all beholders are basically have no HP, and then they all disappear, and you're on to phase 5. Here you're fighting Gzemnid, just him again, and you do have some new mechanics. You have Necrotic Slam, which is basically going to be like this green hand, which goes wham on top of the tank. It's an AoE cone attack, so make sure you're not next to the tank who's tanking Gzemnid. And just after that, so you can call it, you're going to get Deep Claw, where everybody gets a hand coming up from the ground, unavoidable, and just pushes them up in the air. And it's an AoE attack, so if you're standing next to somebody, you'll get hit by 2 hands and you'll die. So you just have to tank the hit and spread apart. So as soon as the tank gets hit by Necrotic Slam, spread apart and you're good. Then you have these gelatinous cubes which will spawn. You'll get 4 of them. Do not kill them just yet. If you walk inside them, collide with them, you'll get stuck inside them and you'll be completely disabled. You won't be able to do anything. You'll take damage over time. Not that big a deal, the damage over time, but just you can't do anything until somebody destroys the cube and sets you free. But don't destroy them yet. You'll need them because of this fire vulnerability. When Gzemnid does his Immolation Blast, so he charges that up, 3 people will get this marker here, this debuff, fire vulnerability. And what they need to do is jump inside a gelatinous cube for protection. So you jump in the cube and then the Immolation Blast goes off and you basically don't get hit by it. And then the guys need to break you out of the cube and you're good. Now you will get double Obliterate here. So both tanks will get Obliterate and that will cause 2 obliteration waves as well to go across the platform. Make sure you full HP for those. You will get double Arcane Calamity now, double Hypo, where you need to split up in 2 groups and tank them together. So normally, if you aren't running with 3 healers, you will have 1 person from each party who has the Hypo. So if you group up in your separate parties, you're good. But yeah. Then you have the mechanics rotation. There's a set rotation here. So you will get Necrotic Slam and Deep Claw first. Then you'll get Gaseous Expulsion. Then you'll get double Obliterate. And then you'll get the cube spawning. Then you'll get the double Hypo. So you need to group up together for that. So you know it's going to happen after the cubes have spawned. So you can preemptively move and group up for that. And then you get the Immolation Blast with those vulnerabilities. So you need to have 3 people, those 3 designated people hopping inside the cubes. Then you get your Necrotic Slam and your Deep Claw again. Then you get your Gaseous Expulsion and then you get your artifacts. And again, when those artifacts appear, what you need to watch out for is the mirrors. The mirrors are going to appear with double Hypo. So as soon as those artifacts appear, everybody groups up to their own party for the double Hypo. Then the person who has the Hypo on them needs to look at the mirrors, and it's going to be a grid guaranteed, and moves to the save spot. Then you get your double Obliterate, which, yeah, yeah, that's what you're going to use again to get rid of the artifacts. But this time you have 3 artifacts that spawned. So the tanks need to choose to get rid of 2 of them. So you just leave 1. So yeah, make sure you choose correctly there. And then he does his Immolation Blast. And it doesn't have the vulnerabilities there, so just tank it, and then you go and you repeat from step 1 again, all the way through that again until you get the boss down to 20% of his hit points. Again, you can read through the current strategy that I just went through as I went through the rotations there pretty much, and you move on to phase 6 as soon as you hit 20%. So phase 6 is identical to phase 4 in that, again, you have your 4 beholder clones with the massive flamethrower in the middle, and you're split up into 2 groups. But this time again, you'll have a smaller of these flamethrowers, which will rotate really fast. You can avoid it by like jumping over it, and you will have to if you want one of the achievements, which is like dodge, duck, dip, dive. That one, if you want that achievement, you'll have to jump over this flamethrower every single hit. And again, you'll just kill all the beholders rotating with the flamethrowers, and then you go finally onto phase 7. What's unique in phase 7 is that the playable area will shrink. You'll see this barrier, it'll slowly go closer and closer in until it kills you, until the barrier is so small nobody can survive and you're all dead. So yeah, if you're pushed into it, you're also dead. And that can happen very easily with your Immolation Blast when you get pushed and you get pushed into it. Gzemnid this time won't move anymore. I didn't actually write that in here, I should have. He'll always stay in the center. But a bunch of mechanics that you will get here again, you can see the chains, the gaseous expulsion, double obliterate, double hypo, so you'll still have to stick with your groups, telekinesis where you go flying up in the air, the necrotic slam and the claw, so you need a spread for that, and then the immolation blast, petrifying ray, withering ray, and necrotic blast. And then you will get 2 mirrors. It looks a bit odd, but you get the mirrors like 90 degrees to each other, and they'll just basically like section off some areas so you won't be safe, so you need to move all to the safe spot. And that's about it. Good luck and have fun with this trial. It's pretty complex, especially with a bunch of combinations you're going to have to learn on phase 3 there with the different double bosses from those trials. But once you know what to expect from these bosses with regards to these mechanics, it definitely makes it a lot easier. I must say, especially once you know the rotations with regards to what the boss is going to do with regards to their mechanics, like on phase 5 here, if you know exactly what's going to happen after the next thing, that helps massively. Like, you can just go screenshot this piece, and for phase 5, as long as you know the names of the mechanics and what they do, you're good. And it's the same for phase 2 as well. Once you know the rotation for phase 2, it gets very easy as well, because you then know what to expect, you know how to react, and it'll make your life so much easier. And hopefully this guide helps you guys out, knowing what to expect in this trial. Again, you're going to want to go watch replays, watch people running the trial, and then also experience the trial for yourself to figure out what's going on, what I mean by these explanations of these mechanics, because yeah, I don't have them visually shown here in much detail, so you're gonna have to experience them for yourselves, and then being having to remember all of them as well just seems like a lot until you actually go and run the trial. All right, over 30 minutes recording. Well, hopefully this helps you guys, even if it's just for the document and you didn't listen to me at all good. I only get compensated with my time with making these videos, not making a guide like that. So hopefully you can support me and just link this video to people if they want to learn the mechanics, and they can access the document via the link below. Special thank you again to all these channel members for helping me motivate to make this all possible. I will see you guys around. Goodbye for now.